Hi, I'm Torch the Adjacent Prepper, and today we're doing a very long review of what seems to be the most controversial way to see in the dark, the Sionyx Aurora. And this is going to be a very long review. As you can see, I've got 2 pages worth of notes, so look in the description, there'll be timestamps if you want something specific. I just kind of want to go over everything I wish I had known before I bought this. Well, let's just start with some common statements you see about these on the internet anytime it's talked to, and what I heard from people I know. So the most common thing you'll see if you go to like Reddit or ARFCOM, something like that, they'll say these aren't real night vision. And frankly, they're right. It's a glorified camera. The next thing that you'll see people say is that everyone who bought this regrets the purchase. Unfortunately, that's not true, because I've gone looking on eBay used deals and stuff, and everyone I've talked to who's bought one of these seems to like it. I may be the one exception to that. And the used value on these things is only about $50 to $100 less than what you get one for new. So I just did a quick look on Amazon. New, the Aurora Black, which is what's in my hand, sells for about $600 to $700. Used on eBay, they're going for about $500 to $550. So you can do some looking and save yourself about $100 by going used. And for the record, this one that's in front of me, I actually did buy used. The thing that when I actually talked to guys who own Auroras, what I kept hearing back from people, several people I talked to, including myself, basically said, we've been interested in night vision, but could never justify spending the money on a PVS 14, which is kind of the entry point for real night vision. As of a couple minutes ago, the cheapest PVS 14 on TNVC was $3,200. Now, for $3,200, you can go get an entire Sionyx setup, everything, helmet, mounts, all this stuff sitting in front of me, plus an AR-15, plus 10 mags, plus the ammo to fill those mags, plus a plate carrier, plus level 4 plates, plus a set of camo clothes, plus a pair of boots, and you can still have about a 3-month supply of food, all for the cost of just the PVS 14. At that point, you kind of have to go, is it worth it, or is the money better spent on other things? Because, I don't know, I know several people who own these. I don't know anyone who owns this who isn't making over $100,000 a year. Most of the guys I know who own these are probably closer to $200,000 a year, and they still don't think a PVS 14 is worth it. You can make your own call on that. Now, it takes a lot to get one of these working mounted to your head. And this came as a lot of surprise to me after I bought. So you're mounting your Sionyx to the front of your head requires a few things. Obviously, you need a helmet. This is a ProTech PT Bravo. I wouldn't recommend these helmets. I'll go into details on helmets more later. As a general recommendation, I'd probably say go get an OpsCore helmet. But the mounting system, the first piece you need is a shroud. This is the part that's permanently attached to the helmet. In this case, this is a surplus shroud designed to work on an ACH helmet, and I just kind of jury-rigged it up. There's like some washers in there taking up space so it'll fit on the thin bump helmet. Next thing you need is the mount. So in this case, this back piece attaches to the helmet. This is a Rhino 2. If you're looking for a cheap mounting solution, this is what I'd recommend. You want something that's got adjustments up and down, forward and back. So flip that lever, this goes forward and back. It rotates up and down with this lever. You can see that. And if I flip this lever, this whole thing can rotate up and down. You really want all of those adjustments because the way your shroud on the helmet sits relative to your eyeball. It's going to depend on the shape of your specific head. So you really want something you can adjust a lot to get it in the right place. And the last piece is the arm. This is a surplus J-arm for a PVS-14 that I bought on eBay. But this arm basically connects, if I go right side up, clips into the mount. The mount clips into the shroud. And then all this can go on your head. One thing to keep in mind, when it comes to the interface between the arm and the shroud, or in the mount, sorry, there's two different types of interfaces here. This is a bayonet mount here, and this was used on the early PVS-14s and the PVS-7 beforehand. One thing to keep in mind with the Aurora, on the bottom here, we've got one standard camera tripod mount, and it's got a little hole there. And that's just for lining things up. The problem is on a PVS-14, if you look at the mount here, you've got the same screw that would go in, but you've, instead of the hole in front like the PVS or like the Sionyx has, this has a raised ridge on the side that would keep the PVS-14 monocular from rotating. So if we mount, let's see, that way, back, okay. If we screw this together, trying to get it somewhat straight. This will, like, no matter how tight you get that, it will rotate a little. It's not a perfect fit. I've thought about trying, there is a company that will make a spacer that will fit in there to kind of adapt the side arm bump that's used on the PVS-14 to work with that little hole in the Aurora and keep it from rotating. I haven't found the rotation to be annoying enough yet to make me do anything about it. I suspect if I was going to do something about that, what I'd end up doing is taking some double-sided foam tape. 3M makes them, they call it mailbox tape, and just put a little bit of that in the gap and compress it down to fill. But that's kind of what your mounting solution looks like. And I want to discuss accessories on this. On the front, if you're using this for airsoft or really anything where it might get hit, there's what they call an APIS shield made by Lion Gear Solutions. Basically, it's a thick plastic lens here, and this should be resistant to airsoft BBs. Basically, it's armor for the front of the lens. And on the back, they make a crash hat that's very similar. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's got a little Lexan lens in there, so it's impact resistant if it gets shot or something. I'd highly recommend both of those items for this camera. Right now you can get them both from a company called Rocky Brass for 25 bucks. They're made by Lions Gear Solutions, but if you want to buy them in the US, the best deal I found was Rocky Brass. I believe Damped Airsoft also sells them at the moment. Next thing you're going to want for accessories is an external battery. So what I ended up going with is an Anker 10,000 milliamp battery. That's external to the camera. I'll lift this up a little bit so you can see. And you also want to have a pouch so the battery will be hanging off the back of your head. Once you have this all assembled on a helmet, you end up with a bunch of weight up front from the camera, the mount, the shroud, everything here. So in order to offset that, and you're not always just looking at your feet, you want to put a counterweight of some kind on the back. Also, the battery life on here, on the camera, is only a couple hours. Throw a big battery in the back as your counterweight, and suddenly your battery life is, instead of a couple hours, you can run all night. If I was going to do it again, I'd probably get a bigger battery back here. One other thing you can do, and I've seen it recommended, is you can get a PVS 14 eye cup, a little rubber eye cup that will attach to the back here. It'll keep the glow from the screen there, which you can't even see on camera, from reflecting off your face and potentially giving your position away if somebody else is looking for it. Frankly, everyone I've talked to has said that's not worth it. I tried playing around with it. I found the PVS 14 eye cap was just more annoyance than it was worth, especially since I use this whole helmet setup is primarily for airsoft, and I'd be wearing goggles back here, and then the eye cup in between the goggles and the camera. It just doesn't seem worth it to me. Let's see. Going down the list. Okay. I kind of went over that specific mounting setup I've got. With the shroud surplus from a surplus store was $20. The shroud, as a surplus store, $20. The Rhino 2 used, they're selling for about $85 on eBay right now. And new, I think they're closer to 160, 170 range. And then the J-arm here is going for about 30 used on eBay. These basically come with a PVS 14, would come with a J-arm. So when you're buying these used, you're getting military surplus, kind of fell off a Humvee J-arms. They work. So if you go to Sionyx website and look for suggestions on accessories, they'll send you over to Lions Gear Solutions. And Lions Gear Solutions makes several things for attaching the Aurora. They're basically all fill in place of that arm. And they have the disadvantage of being specific to a dovetail connection, not a bayonet connection. So it won't work with the surplus Rhino 2 mounts. What everyone seems to suggest is using the L4G, the Wilcox L4 G24 mount. The problem is a Wilcox L4 G24 bayonet, dovetail mount costs right now from TNVC is $475. Then you need to spend about I think they're somewhere between $60 and $200 depending on which model for the Lions Gear Solutions arms to interface with that. So you're looking at somewhere around $550 to $700 to mount the camera to your forehead. Not counting the shroud, not counting the helmet, not counting the crash hat, APIS, battery pouch, the rest of that. That's a lot of money. That's almost as much as you're going to pay for the camera. A lot of people, instead of getting a genuine Wilcox L4 G24, will go get a Chinese knockoff of it. Frankly, that's just, who knows what you're going to get when you go that way. Some of them are completely plastic. Most of them are aluminum. This mount here is titanium. So you got the lightweight of aluminum and the strength of steel. A genuine Wilcox L4 G24 mount will be titanium also, just to get that extra strength. When you're getting like a Chinese knockoff of it, who knows what you're getting. But they're available. They run $75 to $100. So if you go that with a Chinese dovetail mount plus the Lions Gear Solutions, you're still looking at over $120 to get it mounted. Where I found with the Rhinos, the Rhino 2 in J-arm here, cost me about $100, and it works. One thing to be aware of, if you go with this solution, it does cant the camera slightly. I'm not sure if you can really see this on camera. If I hold the helmet up, maybe. So this is, instead of being straight up and down, it's angled a little to the side. If you're one of those people who's really bothered by that, okay, spend the extra money. Personally, I couldn't care less. Seeing the world through like a slightly tilted view doesn't bother me. Interestingly, if you go look at my airsoft gameplay videos when they look sideways, Apparently I tilt my head all the ways to the side anyway, so that may be why I don't care. And now for a quick demo that was recorded at 4 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. Just going through the house and the back garden.
Okay, we are recording, and it is 4 a.m. So, good time to do a quick test. Inside the house, Sionyx picks up pretty much everything. Oh, I need to turn off my security system. Yeah, you can't see that screen with Sionyx. Again with the phone. Security.
System disarmed.
Okay, continuing around in the kitchen. Now, this probably isn't a fair test. Like, with the naked eye, that corner is black. And see the light on my computer flashing, but that's it. Other than that, it's pretty much black. If I look over here in the kitchen, it's mostly black. My phone won't pick up the cabinets, but my eye will. Like, if you look at the cabinets lines around the window, I can see those just fine with my eye. I can't with the phone. So let's take a quick look outside. It's another case with my phone, just putting it on the Sionyx. My phone, I can see it's just pitch black, but my eyes can see the door. So really this isn't a great comparison. Unclip things. Open the back door. And welcome to the garden. Now, there's light coming out of my neighbor's house there. Or my neighbor's old house. So, like, this isn't really pitch black. I'm in the suburbs. I can definitely see slightly better here. Like, with the naked eye, this corner is mostly black. I couldn't pick out the compost bins there. I can barely pick out the garden raised bed there with the cinder blocks. With the naked eye, I can't see any details around the those 3 tomatoes are just black, and the same with the area around the fire pit. I can slightly make out the edge of the raised bed with my eye, where the Sionyx you can see the entire raised bed real well. Like the lighter area, if you look in the picture, that I can see. And then looking over here at the tomato row, you can it's completely pitch black with my eye, and if you look in the Sionyx, it's mostly one color. You can sort of see details with that close bucket. You can even see the Lowe's logo. And doing the comparison to the camera is not all that great, because the camera doesn't seem to want to record anything. Or, sorry, when I say camera, with the phone camera, because that just wants to be black. So there's definitely an advantage to the Sionyx. Is it great? It's not incredible. If I didn't... Oh, and just to show you the sky, it's 4 a.m., so there's a little light, and I'm also on the suburbs on the outer edge of a city, so that's kind of bouncing some light up off those clouds. And look at the tree. That far neighbor's got some lights on. The house closest to me doesn't.
Okay, now briefly to touch on how to carry this thing. It comes with a very nice carry case. Pop this open. It's not actually a Pelican, it just looks like it. It's all nicely cut out. There's the rifle mount, spare batteries, all this nice stuff. The problem is this is fairly bulky. So if you're, say, going to an airsoft game that extends from day to night, or for prepper reasons you want to be able to carry your Aurora, what I found after a bunch of searching, Pullman Surplus has this, what do they call it, the USGI Tactical Monocular Pouch, and they're selling them for $13. And you've got this nice padded area. So, and this is padded too. It's designed for a PVS 14, but it will fit the Aurora in there. There are adjustments to make it tighter or looser on the sides. This is just Velcro holding it closed. But you could fit the Aurora and the Rhino mount all in there. If you're going to do, and then like zip this, yes, you could molly it onto the outside of your gear, or you could drop it in a backpack. Personally, my plans are drop it in a backpack, and I'll talk about more about backpacks on another video. I plan to, and haven't yet, make a padded spacer that I can put in between the mount here and the camera, because I just don't want this bouncing up and down and dinging up the camera lens. As you can see, it's right there. But I figure with the Velcro here, I should be able to make a Velcro piece that will just go in and cover that and have a little padding. But this is an option for carrying the Aurora during the day. Okay, so when it comes to aiming with a rifle using a Sionyx, you've got a few options. Using it with a traditional scope isn't going to work. The reason being, you have a specific eye relief on a traditional scope, or an LPVO, prismatic, anything like that. And you need to get the back of the Aurora, basically whatever that eye relief distance is. So when you'd normally be up front on the gun, now you need to be way back here to make it work. So traditional scopes don't work very well. You could mount the Aurora directly to your rail. I looked into doing this initially, found out that the Aurora mounts so low it will interfere if you have a backup iron sight, as you can see by the inserted image. So then you get the option to look into lasers. Within the US, just due to various government regulations, pretty much every laser you can get in the US is very low powered for infrared lasers. Streamlight makes one, I think they sell them for about $300. It's designed for a pistol, but you can mount it on a rifle if you want. HoloSun makes some that sell for I think they start around $600. And then some of the military contractors make reduced power IR lasers for the civilian market, but those, I believe, start at $1,000 and go up from there for reduced power lasers. If you want a full power laser, your options are to try to import a Russian burst laser, and I think those start at around $500-600 and go up, depending on the lights and the illuminators and whatever else are built into the unit. It's an option. There have been issues recently since the Russian invasion of Ukraine with some of those shipments being seized when you've got items from a Russian defense contractor coming into the US. It kind of gets flagged by customs. Your other option is to go order an airsoft version. G&P used to be famous for their IR lasers, at least ARFCOM liked them, for about $200. I don't think they're still producing them. It's a company called Somos Gear that produces IR lasers in Hong Kong that you can get ordered and shipped to the US. It's kind of a dice roll to see if they make it through customs. I'm pretty sure they usually do. Those are specifically not rated for use on actual firearms, though. So the disadvantage of any of those laser solutions is you have an infrared laser beam coming out of the front of your gun, and anybody else with night vision is going to be able to see that and know exactly where you are because they can see the laser. So what a lot of people are going to is what's called passive aiming, which basically means you are using the sight on the gun and aiming with that. Now, the problem that you quickly run into, and I just want to demonstrate this, is since you've got a big thing hanging off the front of your head, I'm demonstrating, is if you have a rear sight on your gun and you try to get behind the gun, you start banging into the sight. As you can see, I can't quite get low enough on here to see the red dot through my optic, unless I get way, way back behind the sight, and then I can see the dot there. So this is a problem. The way you get around this is either you get rid of your rear sight, which frankly for my airsoft gun is probably what I'm doing. You can either not have a rear iron sight, which personally I'm not a fan of that idea. If you're relying on something battery powered, batteries fail, even if you've got like an aim point with a 5-year battery life. There's a couple companies, Midwest Industries is the one I've actually bought from, that make higher sight mounts. This is 1.63 inch for the standard lower 1/3 co-witness. They make one that's a 2.3 inches, so you're basically coming up about 3/4 of an inch. If you look at my rifle painting video, you can see what that looks like. And there's the Midwest Industries ones go for about $100, and there's some Chinese companies that make knockoffs that you can get on Amazon. But that gets you able to get low enough onto the gun to see your red dot. That works. And then if you've got a rear sight, you can go with a night vision height optic. So kind of in conclusion, after seeing how well this works and what's it cost to actually make it work, is it worth it? Honestly, I'm not sure. I have no intention of selling this now that I've already put the probably $700 that it's spent on getting this thing working. Is it useful for hiking? No. If you're in woods, well, it's not worth hiking in areas I'm likely to be. Like if you're in trees, any sort of cover, it just doesn't get enough natural light to be useful. Maybe if you're in a desert, it would work better. But if you're just looking for hiking in the dark and seeing the animals without them seeing you, it's not really a good option. If you're expecting actual combat, is this a good option? Probably not. Spend the extra $3,000 on a PVS-14. Now for airsoft usage, which is what this is likely to get used, maybe it's useful. If you're going to a big game and you've got people who are using IR lasers and IR lights and putting one of these on your head, you'll be able to see all of that IR they're emitting. That would be potentially very useful. And PVS-14's over $3,000. Once you add mounts and all to it, your starting cost is probably close to $4,000 to get it mounted on your head, where my cost on all of this is $800, $900, something around there. So anyways, if you're going to a big airsoft game and people are likely using night vision, this isn't a bad option on a budget. If you're interested in recording your games at night, this is definitely like your only option for doing that well. And I've actually thought about using this for trying to record airsoft games during the day, because I think having that literally eyeball point of view of the game recording might be kind of fun. Also, if your field is doing night airsoft games and it's a local game and you're not expecting people to bring night vision, this might also be a good option to give you an incredible advantage. My local field, Texas Paintball, to my knowledge, has only had one night game in the last 5 years. And I didn't personally get to attend it, but what I was told is one person brought night vision, and that was a Gen 1, my first nod type thing. One of these $200 sight marks or something. And that person proceeded to accidentally drop it on the ground before the first game, and it broke. So if that's your potential use case and you're just playing a local field where nobody has night vision, you know, if winning a BB Wars is worth the $800, I could definitely picture myself doing that. Now, if you're as a prepper, is it worth it? I don't know. It really depends on where you are and where your budget is. I think food storage is a higher priority. When I did some tests, what I found is with this in color mode, it basically worked as well as my eye. With it in grayscale mode, it did show me a few details that I couldn't get just with my eyeball. So it's not amazingly wonderful. You really need IR light to make it work better. So, like, is it worth the money? That's kind of a decision you've got to make. Hopefully after watching this video, you've got enough information to at least make an informed decision. So, if I missed something, let me know in the comments, because apparently YouTube likes that, and YouTube doesn't like me, so who cares? And thanks for watching.